Hey guys, welcome to BP, the Bible Perspective. Everyone is paying attention to the black vote. Even President Trump has taken notice, but not for reasons you may think. Before we get into it, please like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a comment or a question, add it in the comment section below. All comments are welcome. Now, in this campaign season, the Republicans, of course, are running unopposed, meaning Donald Trump. Those Republican candidates who are daring to throw their hat into the ring, not even a consideration. But of course, then all attention then turns to the Democratic candidates and their race with their main theme to dethrone Donald Trump. And so with this, all of the candidates now, what is essential to a Democratic successful race is the black vote. But why? Black people only make up 13 or 14% of the population. Now let's put that in perspective. Out of a country with 300 plus million people, that's only 30 to 35 million African Americans. Now wait a minute. That's also, you have to consider, that's everyone. So when we're talking about voting age, then that number is even cut drastically. And then, of course, eligible voting age. But still, they are critical to any Democratic candidate, or Democratic, I should say, candidate successful run for the president. In other words, the Democrats cannot win without the black vote. Now, you may be surprised, as I said before, that the Republican, the black vote is central to the Republican race. I'll get into that get into that later. But it's crucial to understand why such a small voting block, right, is so important to a race. So important that, again, Democratic candidates can't win without it, especially in these modern times. Now, in order to understand that too, you have to also understand somewhat the voting process, and that is the Electoral College. Now, we're not going to get into a whole drawn out lecture on that, but it becomes key to understanding why the black vote is so important. Now, many people are confused over what the Electoral College is, what their function, what their purpose, and even if they are needed today. What I want to say is that it's going to be harder to get rid of it, but in short, here's what happens with the Electoral College. Each state doing the presidential campaign, each state is awarded certain amount of electors, okay? These people actually vote for the election of the president. Yeah, that's right. The popular vote really doesn't matter in this context. Although the electors technically, or I should say symbolically, are supposed to represent what the popular vote is. So for example, if the state of California votes overwhelmingly for a Democratic candidate, then the majority of those electoral votes should go to that candidate. Vice versa, if a Republican state, such as Florida, who's overwhelmingly Republican, then vice versa, the electoral votes go to that candidate. It doesn't always work out that way. Now, here's what you have to understand about the Electoral College: that even though you may have more popular vote, okay, a candidate still can lose. Now, that's just something that, again, in the long-term run, should be hashed out. And there are a couple of ways that they should be hashed out, which we're not going to get into in this session. Here's what we need to understand. In 2016, Hillary won the popular vote by 3 million, but lost to Donald Trump because he won more Electoral College. Now, why did that happen? And here's where the black vote is going to come in important. In the key states, what you call swing states, there are certain states. Remember, each state is awarded so many electors. So when you come to California, for example, they have 55 electoral votes. Now, that's a whopping amount. When you go to other states, according to the state's population, this is where the electoral votes is going to count. The more population, the more electoral votes. Okay? And they only exist to vote the president in. Okay? Now, this is important. This is key to where the African American vote comes in. So in key states where there is a high concentration of African Americans, guess what? These states begin to have more electoral representation on the Democratic side. Now watch this. I'm going to be very funny here. But if I was a conspiracy theory and the man, meaning the white man, if he really wanted to change that, he would do his best to spread out the African American vote. In other words, hey, Utah, you should invite more black people and spread out that black vote. Why? Because in a state like, for example, New York, and in particular New York City, which has the highest black population vote, they vote in large numbers in the Democratic candidates. So forth in different other states. Now you can kind of see why it's important for the Democrats to win the black vote. In other words, if you had a situation where, now if I had a situation here, as you can see, if I had salt, right, and I had this whole area here was salt, right? I'm going to use the book here. Let's say this whole area was salt, right? Now, from this, if I can understand what I'm looking at in my camera right here, you see all these white pages right here, right? But then the black print, okay? Think about it. The black print now is sprinkled out on these pages. Well, if I go to the beginning, usually they have it. See, right here, no blacks. Print. Okay? Now, what am I saying? Because of high concentration of black people, this is why the Electoral College is affected by Democratic vote. Plain and simple. That's it. Now, we could get more complex, but that's plain and simple. So, for example, the reason why Utah or Wyoming really doesn't matter to a lot of voters is because they have no people. That's why. And especially black people. In fact, candidates very rarely campaigned in Montana or North Dakota or South Dakota. Why? They don't have people. But they heavily campaigned, in California, in Texas, in New York, in Michigan, right? Illinois, all of these high populated states. Florida, for example, right? Has, I forgot the population. I don't have the breakdown here, but they have high concentration, not only of people, but black people. Now, the interesting thing about Florida, of course, is that it's a heavily Republican state. Okay, which, by the way, is almost on the verge of tipping. Which, by the way, there are several states that have tipped from Republican to Democrat. Here's the point. The reason why the black vote is so important is because of where they are concentrated. Now, I mentioned earlier, why is Donald Trump even taking note? Because in 2016, Donald Trump run in part based upon the black vote. Now, I didn't say black vote people voted for him. Here's what happened. Black people stayed home. That's right. When the black people stayed home in certain key states, that gave Donald Trump an edge to win. Okay? So the best thing that Trump can reach out to black voters to do, and this is why you are now seeing even Trump parading black people around on the stage. He's trying to disenfranchise black voters. Why? Because the greatest gift that black voters can give to Trump is to stay home. And that's why if you want to sow the seeds of discourse in the Democratic race, you disenfranchise people and they're going to do what? Stay home. But if you stay home, guess what? You're going to have Trump. You're going to have Trump for 4 more years. The question to a lot of candidates, how do I win the black vote? And that's would be for another video. That's my perspective. And don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. I'll see you next time.